Hey guys, welcome back. We're in lockdown here in Brisbane and I know a few other places around Australia are as well. And I was like, you know what? Why not just do a little bonus upload this week? Why not just do a book video? Because I'm loving reading, guys. I love it so much. And I love talking about books. It makes me so happy. And I know not everyone loves reading and that's totally fine. The ones who don't love reading probably didn't even click on this video, which is fine. I'm not mad at that. And I kind of asked you guys on my Instagram, would you like some more dedicated book videos? Would you like me to just keep it in the weekly vlog? And I got a very mixed response. I think we had like a 60-40 and like 60% of people wanted to just keep it the way it has been. And then 40% of you wanted me to do more book videos. So I was like, maybe I'll just chuck in a book related video here and there. Once a month, once every 2 months, whenever I just feel like I have something to talk to you guys about. And so I thought today would be fun to just do a July wrap up and also an August TBR, so show you guys what I'm planning to read this month. Lately I've only been doing wrap ups every 3 months, but I usually have between like 12 to 15 books to share with you, and in the past month I've read 9, so I decided to make it its own video, not for really any other reason besides I felt like it. So here we are talking about books. I think I'm gonna give myself a time limit because otherwise I'm gonna be here for too long, so I might give myself like 2 to 3 minutes with each book. Anyway, let's get into the books that I read in July. I did talk about these throughout the month, but if you missed it or you just want a more dedicated video that you can come back to, this is the one for you. The first book I read was Daisy Jones and the Six, and this has become one of my new absolute favorites. I think my favorite book of all time might be Evelyn Hugo, but this, I loved it just as much, probably maybe like 0.001% less, but like I loved this book. And I feel like I didn't really want to read it before. Like it was sitting on my bookshelf for a really long time before I actually picked it up. I read Evelyn Hugo quite a while ago and I just like never felt like reading this. Like I knew I would get to it, but I was just like, oh yeah, like it's about music, it's about a band, it's not going to give me the same vibes as the glamorous, scandalous Evelyn Hugo gave me. So I was like, yeah, but like nah, you know what I mean? And then I read it. And it was so good. I really underestimated how good this book was going to be, and if you are one of those people out there who have been thinking about maybe reading it but you don't think it's going to be that good, go read this book. It is so freaking good. 5 out of 5, so beautiful, so perfect. If you don't know what this is about, it's about a band in the 70s and their rise to fame, and there's a lot of scandals in it. There's a lot of like craziness, addiction, relationships, touring, drugs, like it's just all in it. It got me so hooked. I could not stop reading this. I don't even know how to describe it to you. I feel like I won't be able to do it justice no matter like what I say. All I can say is read this book. Read Evelyn Hugo first and then read this. You don't have to read Evelyn Hugo first, but I would just recommend reading Evelyn Hugo first. Secondly, we have Malibu Rising. I can sense a theme going on here. Again, by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And again, this was 5 stars for me. Taylor Jenkins Reid has definitely become, I think, my all-time favorite author, followed closely by Miss Colleen Hoover, of course, but I just loved this book. I don't think it quite hit me the same as Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones. Like it really was underneath those two, but it was still incredible. And this quartet that she's created, if you don't know, Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones, Malibu Rising, and there will be a 4th book coming out. They're all part of a quartet, so that just like little, it's not a series, but that quartet is just like, I think, what my dreams are made of. I've loved every book so far. I can't wait to read the 4th book when it comes out. I don't know when it's coming out, but I love it. Also, this cover, stunning. If you don't know what this one is about, it is about a family. We mostly hear from the siblings, but we also get to see the parents' love story, and the father in this story is Mick River, who also shows up in Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones. And I love it when characters like seep into other books even though they're not like super closely related. So yeah, Mick River is the father of these 4 siblings, and you get to hear all of those 4 siblings' point of views, and the story flashes back and forth between the parents falling in love and like their love story and forward to their grown children's lives. So they're mostly like young adults now, and it just shows the life they're living and the dynamic between them. And I think my absolute favorite part about this book is one, Nina. Nina is just an incredible lady. Love Nina. But number 2 is every character in this book had like a plan or a way that they wanted their life to turn out, and every single character's plan in this book goes wrong, and they all deal with it in very different ways. And I loved seeing how they all adapted and how they kind of figured out their situation and how they just like moved on. And it was just so real. I feel like you read a lot of stories, a lot of novels that are just like, that is so unrealistic, but this one just felt really real. So Definitely recommend this one. Next we have The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I thought this concept was absolutely incredible. It's basically about a woman called Nora. I think she's about 35-ish, I can't remember exactly. And she is very unhappy with her life, and then she gets caught in between life and death. And in between life and death, according to this book, there is a place called the Midnight Library, where every book on the shelves, and there's like an infinite amount of these books on these shelves, shows a life that she could have lived if she'd made a slightly different decision. And I love that concept because it's so true. Like, the decisions that we make day to day, no matter how small they may seem, can have a very large impact on us. So I just love the concept of that. However, I don't think this was executed perfectly. I think there was so much potential here, and I don't think it lived up to my expectations, unfortunately. However, in saying that, this is some people's favorite book, so I know it lived up to some people's expectations. So that's just like my personal opinion on it. I think if I cared about the character a lot more, I would have cared about the story as a whole a lot more, which is just like how books go. But I also feel like there were it just like felt like there were a few plot holes. So there were a few times where I was like, but like, how would this work, or how would that work? And they just like didn't answer those questions. But overall, I think this is a great book. It makes you think very, very deeply about your own life and reflect on your own decisions and your own regrets. And so I think this is a book that I think everyone should read, even though I think I gave it about a 3.5 out of 5. Next we have Verity by Colleen Hoover. I think this is like my 4th Colleen Hoover book, maybe. Yeah, I think it's my 4th. And I love Colleen Hoover books. Like I really love them. And this is so different from any of her other books. First of all, it's a thriller. It has still got romance in it, which is like her normal classic like thing that she does, but it is a thriller, and that's just not a normal Colleen Hoover thing to do. It was intense. I will say, please look up the trigger warnings to this book if you think you could be sensitive to certain topics, because the trigger warning list on this is huge. It's ridiculous. And I don't think it needed to be as huge as it was, and that's like my main criticism on this book. Actually, no, I have another main criticism, and that is the ending. I just didn't love it. Basically, this book is about an author who goes to work for another author who is too ill to finish the series that they are working on. So our main character, Lowen, goes to the house of the other author so that she can read all the notes and get all the ideas that the other author has already laid out for the rest of the series and complete it for her. But when she goes to look for those notes, she also finds an autobiography that this other author has written, who is now very ill, and it reveals a lot of things about this lady that are absolutely insane. But stuff hits the fan and it goes kind of crazy. This is definitely one of those books that you pick up and you don't want to put down. If you're looking for a book that will get you out of a reading slump or get you into reading in general, this is the book for you, if you don't mind all the trigger warnings. I think I mentioned this in the weekly vlog that I talked about when I read this book, but I feel like the ending was just not good. I feel like they could have done so much more. Like, it had so much potential and they really just like didn't choose a great ending, which kind of sucks. I feel like, yeah, there could have been so much more done with that, but as a whole, definitely recommend. Next, I have Tell Us Something True by Dana Reinhardt. This is a book that I actually picked up randomly from an op shop for like $2 like months ago, and it's been sitting on my bookshelf for a while. But I picked it up. It's a really short book. I think it's under 200 pages, and it gave me a lot of John Green vibes. It's basically about this boy who gets dumped. I think he's like 16 or 17, and previously to him getting dumped, his whole life revolved around this girlfriend. He thought she was like absolutely incredible, just like love of his life, all that sort of stuff. And he gets dumped and he has to like kind of figure out what to do with himself and find out kind of who he is without this girlfriend. And I did think it was pretty good. I think I would have loved it during high school. I did give it a 2.5 because overall I did think it was just quite average. It was nothing mind-blowing, it was nothing spectacular, but I do recommend this still. Next, I read The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary, and this is my first book by this author. I know she's quite popular and I know a lot of people love her stuff. I liked this. I thought it was fun. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Loved the concept of this book. I think it is such a great idea. Basically, we have Leon, who is a night nurse, so obviously he works night shifts, and then we have Tiffy, who works at a publishing firm and just works like a normal 9 to 5, and they strike up a deal together where they will share this 1-bedroom flat. One day Tiffy just finds Leon's ad in the paper and responds to it. So yeah, they're total strangers, but they decide to share this 1-bedroom flat because they will be there at opposite times. So Leon will be there during the day and then he'll go to work at night, whereas Tiffy will sleep there at night but be gone during the day. It's cheap rent, it's a great deal, so they go for it. I won't say too much more. All I will say is it's a romance, so you could probably guess what's going to happen, but there is a crazy ex involved, there is a lawsuit involved, which is interesting. Again, great concept. Don't know why I didn't love this. I think it was a little bit just dragged out. It's a 400-page book and I think it really should have been a 300-page book in my opinion. But yeah, it's good. It's fun. I feel like it's a good I'm gonna read this at the beach and chill out kind of book. It's just not one that you'll be like, I am so obsessed with this I can't put it down kind of book. You know? Then we have The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Someone told me in my comments, I think that's what they said, Michaelides. They said it's Greek. Anyway, this novel also wrote The Silent Patient, which is one of my favorite books of this year. The Silent Patient was his debut novel. This is his second novel. And I will say, I think I do prefer The Silent Patient. I mean, kind of hard to beat because that was a 5-star read for me. This was a 3.5. I still really enjoyed it. It got me semi-hooked. I was definitely intrigued by the story. In this book, we have our main character, Mariana, and about a year ago her husband passed away tragically in an accident while they were vacationing in Greece, and now we're a year later. She is still struggling with severe grief, but one day her niece calls her from university and tells her that she thinks her best friend has been murdered. So Mariana travels to the university to go console her niece, and she finds out that there has been a murder, but she doesn't really believe that it's been taken care of enough. So she decides to take matters into her own hands and figure out who this killer is. And within the story, we have a lot of Greek mythology mixed into it, so if that's your vibe, this is definitely the book for you. We have multiple murders, we have clues, obviously we're trying to figure it out. I did work out who the murderer was, but there's another plot twist at the end that I did not see coming, so that was fun. I love it when I get surprised by plot twists at the end and I don't guess them on the way. But I think this was one of those books that did have some plot holes in it. Some things just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Again, I talked a lot about it in my last weekly vlog because I only read this one last week. So if you want to hear a more in-depth review, go check that out. And if you have any thoughts, I would love to hear them as well. I also read 2 ebooks. The first one was The Girls in the Garden by Lisa Jewell. Overall, this is not my favorite book I've ever read. I gave it 2 stars. It's a mystery. I don't think it's a thriller. Basically, there are 2 sisters. One of the sisters goes missing. The other sister goes to find her, finds her unconscious in a park. Looks like she has been harmed in some way. We don't know who did it. We don't know why. And then the book goes back in time and we see the events that lead up to this incident happen. And I think the main reason why I didn't like this book was just because it was just sad the whole way through. There was just no happy times. It didn't feel like it, at least. It just felt like almost every character could have been a suspect because they all did something creepy or sketchy, and they could have been the person who did the thing. And I feel like the ending was such a letdown. It just felt very anticlimactic to me. Wouldn't really recommend that one. And the other book that I read was The Deal by Elle Kennedy. And The Deal is the first book in the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy, one of 4 books. I gave this a 3 out of 5, and this is a cult favorite. A lot of people adore this book. It just felt like it was full of stereotypes, sporty hot boy and pretty smart girl that no one noticed. And I think my thoughts the whole time were just can we not think of something different? I don't know. And there were some deeper, more emotional aspects of the book which I did enjoy, and I thought those were really good. But overall, it was just full of cliches, and that kind of put me off a bit. It feels like a grown-up version of High School Musical, and I couldn't see past that. And I wanted to, but I just couldn't. Overall, it was good, it was fun. It just wasn't my favorite, and I was really expecting to love it and get hooked on it and want to read the whole series all at once, and I just didn't. I might end up reading the rest of the series, but I have other books that I think I'd rather read first, so we'll see. I'm not against reading the rest of the books, I just feel like they're not at the top of my list. But yeah, those are the books that I read in July. Moving on to my August TBR. I think I've mentioned this before, but when I talk about my TBR, the books that I want to read in August, this is not strict. I could change my mind if I want to, and if I end up changing my mind, I'm sorry, but this is just what I feel like reading right now. But maybe I'll get some new books, maybe I'll just change my mind. I might borrow some from the library, we'll see how we go, but for now, this is the plan. I want to start start off with The House on the Cerulean Sea, and I have started this. So I've only just made like a tiny little dent into this book, but I'm loving it so far. I just love the style of writing. I love the concept of the book. It's basically about a caseworker from the department in charge of magical youth. So it's, I think, magical realism, and he has been asked to go and write reports on a lot of different orphanages filled with magical youth or magical children, but he has been asked to go to this one on the cover because this one is specifically for troubled youth. So they want a very in-depth report on this one. So I don't know much more than that, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think it might be a new favorite. I'm only a tiny bit in and I'm already loving it. Like, I think it could be a 5 out of 5 if it continues the way that it already is. Like, very excited about this one. I also want to read Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I eventually want to read every Coho book because I just really love her stuff. They just get me hooked every time and I love it. This one is raved about on Book Talk especially. One of my favorite booktubers, Steph Boher, is one of her favorite books, and I feel like I've heard her talk about it so many times, so I was like, I just need to read it. If you guys know, I accidentally bought the Polish version by accident, but this is the English version. We solved the problem. We're back on track, and I feel like this is one of those books that I'll get through in like 2 days or something. Like, I think I'm gonna love it. I have no idea what it's about, but I kind of love not knowing what books are about before I read them. Is that weird? Do you guys like knowing a synopsis before you read a book? Or would you rather go in blind? Because I love going in blind. Like, don't tell me anything. Maybe give me a trope or something, but I just like going in blind. Then after that, I really want to read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Again, I've heard so many good things about this one. I picked this one up from Lifeline Book Fest like a month ago or so. And this is one of Noelle Gallagher's favorite books, and she's another one of my favorite booktubers, so I'm very excited to read this. Again, from Lifeline Book Fest, I picked up another Coho novel, and this is Hopeless. I have heard basically nothing about this, so again, super excited. I've had a few of you guys tell me that you really enjoyed this one. I'm also pretty sure this is part of like a mini series, so I might have to end up getting those other books after I finish this one. I have no idea what it's about, but it's Colleen Hoover, so I doubt I'll dislike it. I don't know if it'll be a favorite. I haven't heard many people talk about it, so I don't think it's like one of her top novels, but I think I'll still love it because I haven't found a Colleen Hoover book that I don't like yet. The next one on my list for this month, we'll see. I don't know if I'll get to it, but Beach Read by Emily Henry. This book is one of the most popular books on the internet right now. Like, everyone raves about this, and I'm yet to find many people who dislike it. And I actually put it off for quite a while because a lot of people who rave about The Unhoneymooners and about The Hating Game also rave about this, and I just wasn't a huge fan of The Hating Game or The Unhoneymooners. I didn't dislike them, I just like, it wasn't my favorite book ever. But recently I've heard a few people that I really trust talk about this book as if it's like incredible, and people who didn't really like romance have loved this. People who've never really been into this type of stuff loved it, and so that has made me really intrigued. I think my curiosity is getting the best of me, and I think I'm gonna try and read it this month depending on if I have the time. As for some Christian reads, Liam and I are still reading through this book together. This is Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. I'm liking it so far, but I'm not loving it. I don't know how many chapters we have left. I think 4 or 5. So we might finish this month, but this is one that I'm going to continue to read. I think it's good. I think it has some valid points, but I also think it's lacking in a few areas. So we'll see if my opinion changes throughout this month. And another one which I have been reading for the longest time, and I just am yet to make a huge dent on it, is the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I eventually want to read all of C.S. Lewis's books. I think he is a genius and an incredible writer, and I love his books. So I want to finish this. It's a super easy book to finish. I just need to actually make the effort. And lastly, we have a couple of nonfiction books. I do want to make more of an effort to read more nonfiction stuff because I just haven't been lately, and I love nonfiction. I just forgotten about it lately. I don't really know why. I really want to finish The Productivity Project by Chris Bailey this month. I have started this, made a decent dent. I'm like a third of the way through, but I just, again, put it down and forgot about it. So I definitely want to finish this month. And if I do have enough time, I would also love to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is an incredibly well-known book, and I've heard amazing things about it. I am very thankful to have a husband who loves reading nonfiction and has a great library of nonfiction options. So this is one that I pulled off his side of the shelf, I guess. He's made a few annotations, so it'll be kind of fun to read through his thoughts as well. So I definitely have quite the list. And this also doesn't include any audiobooks that I might listen to, but I usually get through a couple audiobooks each month as well. So we'll see if I stick to this. We'll see if I include any other ones throughout the month. But if you want to keep up with what I read each week, I always do a little reading segment at the end of each weekly vlog where I just update you guys on what I read that week and what I thought about it. So you can keep more up to date with that, but I might try and add in a few random book videos here and there as well because I just love talking about books. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any book recommendations for me, or let me know what you're reading at the moment or what you plan to read in August. I would love to hear what you're up to. But I hope you guys have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you all very soon. Goodbye.